It's about people, performance, and purpose.
We are urging all nations to recognize the inherent right in the ocean.
Ocean governance concerns every one of us.
Take what you learned today with you. We have the tools, we have the technology.
Let's end the ocean emergency.
Mas nós fazemos parte desse ambiente.
Welcome to the Ocean Race Summit.
Good morning and welcome to the Ocean Race Summit Newport. It is wonderful to be back in the ocean state of Rhode Island. A very special welcome to some of our honorable guests that are here with us today. First of all, Governor McKee, thank you for being here. Representatives Lauren Carson and Terry Courtfriend, Mayor Tsai, Her Excellency Ambassador Isabel Pico of Monaco to the United Nations, Janet Coit, Assistant Administrator at NOAA Fisheries and the U.S. Department of Commerce, Dina Lynn Spears, who is Vice Chair at the Narragansett Tribe, Wendy Schmidt, thank you for being here, President of the Schmidt Family Foundation and co-founder of 11th Hour Racing, the Ocean Race Chairman, Richard Brisius, and all of you, our ocean friends, thank you for being here. We love seeing your beautiful faces. I know it's early. Thank you for making your way here. We've got the sunshine, we've got the water right next to us, so it's such a beautiful vibe. I'm Danny Washington. I will be your host for the day, and it's just really an honor and pleasure to be here with you. So this is one of many in our series of Ocean Race Summits, thanks to 11th Hour Racing, who is one of the race's premier partners and the founding partner of the race's sustainability program. Now, massive, massive congratulations to 11th Hour Racing Team for their epic win of Leg 4 all the way from Itajaí, Brazil to here right in their hometown of Newport. So let's give it up for 11th Hour Racing Team. This is our third time here in Newport with the race, and this is actually where we hosted our very first summit ever in 2015. Now, I've been with the Ocean Race Summit since 2020. In fact, I hosted a virtual live broadcasted summit right here on the porch of Sail Newport during the COVID pandemic, and we're just so grateful to be here in person because it just makes it all the more special. What I love most about these summits is that the way we've built a global community, truly, of one ocean family, where members of this family are aligned with the idea of protecting what remains and restoring the place that we all love, the ocean. Now, the question is, how do we successfully do that? How do we achieve that vision? And what are the cutting-edge solutions that will accelerate us toward a just and sustainable and equitable future for all, like we all deserve and need? Well, that's what today is all about. Today is about getting together, having conversations, making connections, and also figuring out new collaborations amongst us, how we can make this movement accelerate. Now, we're not going to solve all the world's problems in a few hours, of course, but at least here in this room, we've got powerful, intelligent people who will make the changes that we need, and it really is about the critical mass that will accelerate us forward. So, as a Miami native, I grew up in South Florida. I had a childhood with ample opportunity to connect with the ocean in a very personal way. I give thanks to my parents for making time to take time at the beach together and to live a lifestyle that was very much influenced by my Jamaican heritage. Now, my island culture is exactly what drives me today to serve as an ocean advocate, a science communicator, as well as a television presenter, holding on to the idea that we as Jamaican people say, that out of many, we are one people, and that our fate as human beings completely relies on the health of our blue ocean planet. Now, I know for sure Rhode Islanders understand that idea as well. Being so close, in such close proximity to the ocean, that connection is very strong. And as we face things like the climate crisis and all the challenges we have ahead, we know for sure that nature will go on. The question is, will it be with us or without us? But that choice is ours to make. It really is. Through fruitful conversations, through meaningful connections, and strong collaborations, we will get there. I truly believe that. And with that said, I'd like to emphasize that today's summit is focused on sharing viable solutions for improving ocean health, energizing real ocean action, and fortifying commitments, both personally and collectively, that will ensure a more regenerative future for all of us. I am so pleased to invite the Director of Community Planning and Natural Resources Department, who also serves as the Vice Chair of Land and Water Resources Commission of the Narragansett Tribe. Please welcome Dinaline Spears to share an important acknowledgement of the sacred land we are occupying today.
Wunikisak. Normally, openings, blessings, land acknowledgements are given by the elders in the tribe, but they bestowed that role on me today, so I will be honored to do this for you. So, Oscui Kwaza Sinumish O Inishki Tampawag, Natusui, Dinaline Spears, Englisha, Narragansett Nihantik, Canopia Malki, Nahigansett. And I basically say greetings to all that are here today. My English name is Dinaline Spears. I'm Narragansett Nihantic descent, and welcome to the homelands of the ancient homelands of the Narragansett Indian tribe. So the Narragansett people, we're still here. We are the first stewards of the land, and we have faced bloodshed, pain, and stolen lands. Today we gather on Aquidne, which is Aquidneck Island, and the word means at the island or floating mass at. So Aquidneck Island has a historical use by the Narragansett tribe and the Wampanoag tribe. It was a summer camp. We hunted, we fished, we gathered, we held ceremonies, and we prepared for the winter time, and we moved back inland. So when the European colonists first arrived, they didn't find an empty wilderness. Indigenous people have resided here. We cleared land, we manipulated land, we planted our gardens, and so that made those things very important to the colonists and to take this land and to settle on it. But they also there were agreements set in place by the Narragansett sachems, and we allowed the colonists to use the land, but instead we were restricted from some of our practices. So they dispossessed the land from the tribe. So today, with the blessings from the Creator and the Great Spirit, acknowledge who we were as traditional stewards of the land and honor and respect all indigenous peoples whose histories are woven in the waterways, ocean, wildlife, and fabric of the land of Aquidneck Island. Let us gather in deep connection to the land and the water. It is a sacred and reciprocal relationship. The land and water give life. In return, offer gratitude, care, and protection. This relationship is ancient and is still alive. Let us come together to share knowledge and create partnerships as we work to give the ocean a voice on critical issues affecting our planet: climate change, industrial overfishing, and pollution. Let us pray to the Creator to bless all in attendance, keep our minds focused on the task before us, and keeping the space we gather in clear from negative energy, and allow positive energy to emerge as we discuss and take action to protect and restore our ocean and its resources. All here today are committed to sustaining Mother Earth. In return, she will sustain us in the next 7 generations. Thank you, Creator, for the air, land, and water that sustains us in this sacred moment as we gather in a native way. Sit, listen, and talk. Akinika Nunantum, peace and blessings. And so my last part of this will be, I will be going around the room in a clockwise formation and leaving a little bit of tobacco. And I'll leave it at the doors too, where we enter and depart, and just to keep the area blessed and have good intentions here today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dinaline, for that powerful prayer, as well as the words that will bless this room today. I believe that it's vitally important that we continue to recognize and uplift Indigenous peoples around the world and talk about their ways of life, because they're truly the original stewards of the land and our coastlines. Many Indigenous principles can also serve as the blueprint in designing a regenerative future and holds the keys to rebuilding harmony between humankind and nature. As we navigate to that regenerative future, we need strong leadership amongst our policymakers and world leaders. I'm pleased to introduce our next 2 esteemed guests who understand this mission as leaders here in Rhode Island. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Governor of Rhode Island, Daniel McKee, and the Mayor of Newport, Sai Kemsivarong. Yes.
Well, thank you, and Mayor, thank you. He said I can go first, even though I'm in his home community and a great leader here with Mayor Zai, and working with him right now, I think on something that's very applicable to what we're talking about today in terms of the ocean is the fact that we're doing a transition on our learning experience in Rhode Island from 180 days to 365 days. And the mayor is one of the municipal leaders that's leading the charge. And part of that is we are the ocean state. So the ocean race, being here in the ocean state is something that is very appropriate. As we continue, we may be the smallest state geographically, but we have 400 miles of coastline. Meaning that we truly live up to our name. The purpose of the Ocean Race is to shine a spotlight on the importance of nature and the ocean. And you couldn't have picked a better place for one of your stops. We're fortunate here to Rhode Island to be home of the offshore wind. Thank you, Janet. Thank you for planting the seed that we're continuing to work on right here in the ocean state, leading the country in offshore wind, capitalizing on our ocean and miles of coastline to be a national leader in renewable energy. Just 2 years ago, right here in Newport, I was proud to sign the landmark Act on Climate, which set ambitious goals in reducing emissions. And we understand the dangers posed by climate change. It's important that we continue to have events like the Ocean Race, which highlights sports while promoting the importance of preserving our environment and protecting our oceans. The Ocean Race also promotes the rights of the ocean, creating a shared vision for a positive future for the people and the oceans, which gives us so much. We're seeing the very positive changes that can be promoted by sports. I know very well, having coached basketball in my hometown around the state of Rhode Island, regionally also up and down the East Coast, the importance of teamwork. And I was able to actually visit with, before our entry, our Rhode Island entry, headed to Europe for their training. They stopped right in Providence, and I was able to stop and say hello to the team, actually get on the boat, see the living quarters there, which is interesting, by the way. But it really shows the teamwork that it takes to actually move from point to point around the world in a way that is timely, and also having such a positive message as you make that journey of the importance of the ocean to our world, and right here in the ocean state, right in the state of Rhode Island. The Ocean Race also shows us that sports can teach us the importance of civic lessons, namely the value of our ocean and the importance of preserving our nature. And as I said, as we move from a 180-day learning experience to 365, we're going to take these experiences and work with the young people in the state of Rhode Island so that their academic outcomes improve, their earnings improve, as well as their health. This is what all ties in. It ties in perfectly with the continued efforts to promote Rhode Island as a bucket list state for destination as one of our goals. We want to open up the world to our state through our airport, and we're doing that in terms of our marketing to make sure that people understand how great it is. So if you're from out of state, anybody here from out of state? Yeah, this is great. Thank you for coming in and visiting us. Spread the word. This is an unbelievable place, the state of Rhode Island, for many, many reasons, but for here today is so much to be grateful for. You know, the history and the arts and the culture of our state, world-class restaurants. We have one of the original 13 Declarations of Independence right here in the state of Rhode Island as one of the founding colonies for the United States, the state of Rhode Island. First to declare independence, by the way, and actually making sure that we were leading the charge and towards all the issues that we're talking about here, including the separation of church and state. So our history is strong. We appreciate that you're here. We believe that this helps the world and it helps the state of Rhode Island. Along with my good friend Mayor Zai and all the new friends from the Ocean Race, I just want to give a little plug though for Rhode Island and the Biden administration and Janet in terms of her leadership at Commerce, former DEM director. Big shoes to fill, but Terry's doing his best to fill those shoes. But the possibilities for here in Rhode Island in terms of the environment and addressing the environment are only, improved significantly with the investments that the Biden administration is making in the environment, in the ocean state, the issues on offshore wind, the renewables, and Rhode Island intends to lead the charge on that. So thank you so much for being here. And Mayor, the microphone's yours.
Thank you, Governor, and Sail Newport, the Ocean Race, and Newport's very own 11th Hour that's serving as the premier sponsor for this event. I'm the mayor of Newport, and so it's my honor to welcome you all to the City by the Sea. Brad reminded me walking in, I also have a very special thank you to the Ocean Race for keeping him busy over the past year, so he couldn't run against me for mayor. But Newport is the capital of sailing, and our heritage with the sport is unrivaled and continues to deepen every single day because of the work that organizations like Sail Newport do, getting more access to the water for people across our community. And what sailors find when they come here are more than spectators that come out to watch this race, but true fans of the sport, people that believe in not only the sport of sailing, but who are passionate about the sea. It is the sea that brings us here today, the commitment to which is the larger purpose of this race. From sailing to seafood to our beaches to the Navy, saltwater courses through every bit of us here in the ocean state. Sailors know this next quote from JFK very well, but I think it's apt to set the stage today. All of us have in our veins the exact same percentage of salt in our blood that exists in the ocean. And therefore, we have salt in our blood, in our sweat, and in our tears. We are tied to the ocean. And when we go back to the sea, whether it is to sail or watch it, we are going back from whence we came. JFK was not alone in the profoundness that he found in this particular place where we stand today, where he uttered those words. And his sentiments capture why Newport is such a fitting location for this, one of 12 such conversations that are happening around the globe as part of this particular series. This place is where some of the greatest minds in our country's history have come in the pursuit of clarity, often to make decisions that have pursued radical ideas that have changed the course of humanity. On your way in, you passed the summer home of President Eisenhower, where he undoubtedly reflected on the ways to avoid yet another world war. The church where JFK married Jackie O. And of course, the field where Bob Dylan famously went electric for the first time in folk history, a radical and very unpopular decision at the time. And if you look out the windows here, you can see the site where many believe that Captain Cook's famous endeavor rests. And of course, the final finishing line, where one of Rhode Island's own sons, an American, won the American leg of the Volvo Ocean Race. Between these moments of iconic America, you will find that every generation has found the profound opportunity to come to realizations that are important to our country. It was from Touro Synagogue, the first synagogue in America, where letters between George Washington and that congregation set forth this idea that we should have religious independence in our country, the separation of church and state, a basic belief that we now hold so dear to our democracy. You see, this is the place that has produced some of America's greatest thought. And so today our job is to focus on what many consider to be a radical concept, the ocean's rights and how we might best support them. Of the many reasons why we must protect the sea, I urge you to consider this, that of the many things that we rely upon the sea for, today we must draw upon it for the clarity that it gives us here, that JFK so eloquently spoke of, that our sailors are racing for, that has changed the music that we listen to, the reflections of our history, and more than once, the course of our democracy.
Thank you, Governor McKee and Mayor Tsai, for joining us today and for your great words and sharing your insight into what the future of Rhode Island and the rest of our country and beyond looks like when it comes to sustainability. And Mayor Tsai, I apologize for mispronouncing your name. I needed to do it justice. I've been practicing for days, I promise. But Kamsi Voravong, right? Yes. Okay, there it is. Next, I'd like to introduce a true ocean advocate and lifelong sailor who's committed to using his platform and his voice to elevate the sound and the love of the ocean. So please welcome our Ocean Race Chairman, Richard Brisius.
Thank you, Mayor Kamsi-Boravong, and thank you, Governor McKee, and Excellencies, friends of the ocean. It's just outstanding to be here together this morning, and it's outstanding that we have the summit just next to the ocean, which is where we all come from. We are all ocean people in here today. And it's my honor to welcome you to this Ocean Race Summit in Newport 2023. It's, I think Todd said, it's our 18th summit today, which is pretty outstanding. And since 1973, the Ocean Race has been sailing around the world every 4 years. So it's also our 50th anniversary this year. And the Ocean Race has been called the toughest test of a team in sport. And it is that in many ways. But the Ocean Race is very much about people. It's about performance and purpose. And our purpose is to motivate people to do the extraordinary to restore ocean health. And as a sailor, as you will hear later on, the Ocean Race truly changes you. When you finish this race, you are not the same person you were when you started it. You have grown, you understand your limits better, you made mistakes, you've fallen, you come back up, and you are a better team player. And maybe most importantly, you understand and respect people in a better way. And Wednesday afternoon, last week, history was written out here when 11th hour racing crossed that finish line in first place, right out on this beautiful bay. And it was the first American boat coming first into America over the last 50 years of this race. And I'll never forget seeing the faces of the crew as you came to the dock down here, of Charlie, Sci-Fi, Francesca, Damien, and Amo. And in those faces, I saw, of course, happiness, but I also saw faces of people who had grown, people who had changed. They were not the same as they set out in Alicante, not the same as how you set out from Itajay either. And I saw that they understood and respected each other in an even better in that great team. So again, a big hands to 11th Hour Racing for what you pulled off in this great leg. Now, I've had the privilege of participating in most of the Ocean Race Summits since the first one, which was here in Newport in 2015, thanks to a great vision by a number of people, including Volvo, who back then realized that this race should transform into a platform driving sustainability for the future. But importantly, every summit is truly unique. Every summit has a new theme, every summit has a new format, and if you look at the great group who are here today who are producing this summit, I just see them getting hungrier and hungrier ahead of each summit, and this wake up in the morning seeing today is the chance to now again try to make a long-term impact and improve the state of the ocean. So these summits are unique in many ways, and we've had since 2015 over 100 speakers and panelists. We have thousands of participants from around the world, as Danny said. And one of the great ripple effects of these Ocean Race Summits is just that one same that the crew experience when they race around the world. And it is that you come to understand and respect people in a different way. And isn't that so, that understanding and respecting people is fundamental if you want to change people's behavior and if you want to implement solutions at a large scale. So my only advice to you here today, first of all, now you are on watch and Charlie Enright is watching you, so you are on deck now, guys, for the next 2-3 hours. And my only advice to you is to engage and listen carefully today. And I'm not saying that everything that's being said today is correct or so on, but it may give you a chance to understand other people's perspective better. It gives you a chance to be a better leader. It gives you the chance to make sharper and better decisions that will, in the end, drive for a better and healthier ocean. And the solutions and ideas that are presented at the Ocean Race Summits, they are like a seed. And it's one thing, as we know, to sow the seed, but what's more important is where you plant the seed. And you all recall the parable about the farmer who went out to sow his seed, and as he was scattering the seed, some fell along the path and the birds came and ate it up. Some seed fell on rocky places where it didn't have much soil, and it sprang up quickly though, but because the soil was shallow. But when the sun came up, the plants were scorched and they withered because there were no root. Other seed, they fell amongst thorns, which grew up and choked the plants. Still, other seed fell in good soil, where it produced a crop 100, 60, 30 times what was sown. And you, my friends, you are here and invited here because we believe that you are good soil. And you can hear, and you can understand, and you can make a change for the ocean and for life. And on another island, a small island in Sweden outside my hometown, Stockholm, we have a little family farm. And my father, he took it on over 50 years ago with one sole objective, to restore the biodiversity of the old farmland and allow seed who had been dormant in the ground for over 100 years to grow again. And the result is truly extraordinary, because every time the expert inspector comes to count the species, there are magic moments as close to extinct species are found to thrive. And yesterday, I was just up the road here for the second time visiting the Ocean Hour farm, which is a great initiative by Rob, Jeremy, and Wendy, and the whole 11th Hour racing team. And I went there with my son Max and a group from the race. And it was truly inspiring to see the progress you are making and following that leadership and the extraordinary vision of 11th Hour racing to not only raise the bar, but to find a completely new level, and this time in exploring that intricate relationship between farming practices and long-term ocean health. And this summit series now, they of course wouldn't have been possible without 11th Hour racing and that unique vision and that long-term trust that you are showing to everyone who you are supporting. And you have enabled us all and allowed us all to have the impact we have through the summits. And as you heard in 2020, we had a virtual summit here in Newport. And it was a cloudy Newport, I remember. And it was in the midst of COVID, sort of a half year after the start of COVID. And there were hundreds of people watching from around the world, from their homes across the screens. And I recall Wendy Schmidt speaking from the porch over at Sail Newport and saying to us all that if Mother Nature has evoked COVID-19 to send us to our rooms to think about what we have done, then we need to come out with better plans and new approaches when we exit our rooms. And when he talked about the decade of ocean science and a decade devoted to rapid acceleration of ocean exploration that could lead to global ocean policies in 2030 that will do so much to restore and protect the ocean for future generations. And she also said, though, that that's a really tall order that needs international cooperation at a scale never seen before, with countries that not only sign up on acknowledging the problem, but committing to actions, sharing of data, scientific, governmental, and philanthropic resources. And what Wendy said that was a seed. And how good soil or how rocky soil it fell into remains to be seen. But thanks to this seed, we have decided to focus our efforts on international cooperation at scale to a large degree. And we decided to work towards a universal declaration of ocean rights. And since that great speech in 2020, we made important progress in our influence, in our achievements within international cooperation and global ocean policies, as you'll hear today. Of course, this is just the start, and there's clearly a lot of work in progress, but there's much, much more work to remain to be done up till 2030. So, in closing, I just want to make sure you're not confused now about my ramblings about seed and soil, right? So, at the Ocean Race, we are all ocean people. And if we would go back and rename this planet, we would name it Ocean, not Earth, because the ocean is 70% of the surface of the planet. So that's it. Thank you very much. Make the most of the day, and you are on watch now. Charlie's watching. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Richard. It's always wonderful to hear you give a welcome and share your passion. It's always something that inspires us for the rest of the day, so thank you. I like the analogy of the soil. It's a good one. It's a good visual. As you may have heard or seen just now, we have students entering Ocean Live Park. In fact, this week, thanks to the learning program provided by 11th Hour Racing, we will see about 5,000 students here in the park. So very exciting. If you're around the rest of the week, please come and join us. Yes. So one of the initiatives that we have under the Racing with Purpose sustainability program is called One Blue Voice. And this campaign is a powerful opportunity for all of us to stand up and literally speak up for the ocean. Behind me, you'll see a QR code that you can scan right now with your smartphones if you'd like, and sign our petition. Now, this petition is about joining an initiative to restore and protect our ocean. This campaign is so special. The race is on. And as we're building momentum, we still need your help. So this QR code is back up on the screen if you'd like to scan it. It literally takes seconds, but it has a huge impact. Now, by signing this petition, we're going to be able to showcase every single person that truly cares about the ocean and supports this mission, and each of you matter. As far as right now, we've reached nearly or more than 22,000 signatures already, but our goal of 50,000 signatures has still yet to be reached. So please help us spread the word. Again, it only takes a few moments, and you can share it with your friends and family. Now, one federal agency here in the United States that's helping protect our planet's precious resources is the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, otherwise known as NOAA. And here to share some of the good work happening at NOAA, please welcome Assistant Administrator for Fisheries, Janet Coit.
Good morning. Thank you, Danny. Thank you, Dinah Spears. I'm so pleased to be here with you. The excitement here is palpable, and I really feel it. It's very special to be with you, Governor McKee. Thank you for leading this great state. It's super to see so many state legislators here. And I will tell you, the more I travel the world, the more I appreciate my home state of Rhode Island. It's the best. Thank you, Mayor Kamsai Voravang, for hosting us in your shining city and for your wonderful remarks. Congratulations to Race Chairman Richard Bressius for another fine event, and many thanks to the Ocean Race organizers and sponsors, especially 11th Hour Racing, for making this a global platform to examine the rights of the ocean, and to all the environmental leaders here today. There are many important state agency heads here, and while I thank them all, I have to give a huge shout out to to Terry Gray, the director of Rhode Island DEM, my former agency, and we are here at one of DEM's flagship state parks, and I just need to say kudos to the DEM team, Bruce Thompson, who runs this park, and the folks who work every day to support a cleaner, healthier Rhode Island, where the public, where everyone has access to wild places, including our ocean. Thank you, DEM. It is wonderful to be with friends and be back at Fort Adams representing the Biden-Harris administration. This is one of my favorite places. Places hold our stories. And this place, where the land meets the sea, is a library of diverse tales. I'm not a newbie here. I have a history with this event. I was part of the team spearheaded by Brad Reed and the amazing team at Sail Newport, who competed to have Newport be the North American stopover, and who led the way on promoting sustainability during the 2014-2015 Ocean Race. And in 2018, I was here well before dawn, welcoming the racers into the harbor. I'll never forget that magical morning. How many of you saw Skipper Charlie Enright and the 11th Hour Racing team come sailing into the harbor, having won leg 4? That must have been emotional, filled with pride and joy. You'll never forget it. Thank you, Charlie, for making history and for your skill and leadership. These types of events are so important. They bring recognition to Rhode Island and contribute to the economic vitality of the state, as the governor noted. And they focus attention and power on our connection to the ocean and highlight the need for us to work together to be better stewards of the environment. It almost goes without saying that the ocean state is a fitting place to call attention to the rights of the ocean. With over 400 miles of coastline, Rhode Islanders have led the way on many environmental issues, from creating the first no-discharge zones, to installing the first offshore wind farm, to taking aggressive action to promote resilience and reduce reliance on fossil fuels in the face of climate change. Rhode Island is a state that consistently punches above its weight. And I feel very fortunate to be working for another Rhode Islander who's guiding policy at the national level, the Commerce Secretary, Gina Raimondo. Today, I'm here in my role as the head of the National Marine Fisheries Service at NOAA. From the surface of the sun to the bottom of the ocean, NOAA's mission is to help people better understand the changing world around them so they're better equipped to protect their lives, livelihoods, and way of life. Central to our mission is our work to conserve our oceans and the creatures that inhabit them. At its heart, NOAA is an environmental intelligence agency. We need that intelligence now more than ever to build our resilience to climate change, manage natural resources, protect nature, and promote innovation. While not everyone has heard of NOAA, the data and services we provide affect just about everyone, and certainly the sailors and other people in this audience. NOAA's National Weather Service is critical to all of us every day: sailors, farmers, fishermen. NOAA's Ocean Service is the nation's nautical chart maker. NOAA operates research vessels, including 2 home-ported in Rhode Island, with a new ship coming to Newport in 2026. Hooray. NOAA Fisheries, my agency, is responsible for nothing less than the stewardship of the nation's living marine resources in our federal waters, which are generally from 300 to 200 miles off of our coasts. Managing NOAA Fisheries is an awesome responsibility. The issues I wrestle with every day are challenging and urgent, and they require the federal government to work with states, tribes, and new partners. Like many of you, I have a front row seat on the impact of climate change on our oceans. We know climate change is already impacting the nation's valuable marine ecosystems and the many communities and economies that depend on them. I've been fortunate in this role to travel the nation, and from Alaska, where salmon are not returning to the Yukon and Kuskokwim rivers, to the Caribbean, where coral reefs are dying, communities are suffering due to warming waters. This administration views the climate crisis as the issue of our time, with grave consequences near and far if we don't take aggressive, effective actions now. Last year, NOAA announced that the US coastline will see up to 1 foot of sea level rise by 2050. That increase used to represent sea level rise in a century, and now it will be realized in just 30 years. Of course, you see that tangibly right here, where sea level measured at the Newport tidal gauge has risen over 11 inches since 1930, a rate of more than 1 inch per decade and accelerating. Warming waters have already led to rapid shifts in fish distribution. I learned this over a decade ago from Rhode Island fishermen who expressed concern about lobster leaving Narragansett Bay. Now fish like cobia, which are common to tropical waters, are an emerging focus of our managers here in New England. A major priority of mine is accelerating the pace of our research and adjusting our management to adapt to the shifts in distribution of species that are happening now. For me, the impact of climate-driven changes was embodied a few weeks ago when I saw an endangered North Atlantic right whale and her calf in Cape Cod Bay. These right whales are so rare that we cannot afford to lose even one if we are to prevent them from going extinct. And because there are fewer than 350 remaining, scientists have given them all names. The whale I witnessed is called Medusa. As big as a school bus, Medusa weighs around 70 tons. She's a 42-year-old right whale, and this was her 7th documented calf. As one of approximately only 70 remaining breeding females, Medusa plays an outsized role in the recovery of this magnificent species. One of my heroes, Rachel Carson, talked about the wonder of nature. And while it was a thrill to see Medusa and her calf, I also felt somber and sad because I'm aware of their plight. North Atlantic right whales face many threats. The leading causes of their mortality are entanglement in fishing gear and vessel strikes. In addition, as a result of climate change, these whales are altering their migratory patterns and they're changing their feeding areas, which is making them more vulnerable, especially to vessel strikes in the US and Canada. NOAA uses a variety of techniques to study and protect these endangered whales, and we're stepping up those measures, including proposing new rules to reduce vessel speeds where the whales are, and new funding to support ropeless options for trap fisheries. Everyone needs to do their part if we're to succeed, and that means taking strategic, active steps, including altering the way we do business. I laud the Ocean Race managers for implementing mitigation measures to avoid impacting ocean creatures and for making that commitment to protection of ocean ecosystems, including marine mammals like the right whales. That is a real testament to your values. I get asked frequently, is there reason to hope? As an optimist, my answer is always yes. Rhode Island's motto is hope, and I do feel optimistic. One reason is that all of you, the sailors, the farmers, the environmentalists, the scientists, all of you appreciate the wonder of nature and the incalculable ways the ocean supports life on Earth. We all need to act in our respective spheres to break out of status quo defeatist thinking. The response we make to this urgent challenge makes a difference. At NOAA, we're working with states, tribes, and partners to try to build a climate-ready nation. That means understanding what is happening and deciding how together to put together a plan to adapt and mitigate for the future, including reducing our reliance on fossil fuels. So despite feeling somber when reflecting on the plight of Medusa and her kin, I'm aware that this sadness reveals the extent of our caring and the vital connection that we have to the marine environment that supports us. My optimism is rooted in our mutual caring and the hope that fuels cooperative action to rise to this challenge, to protect our ocean habitat, and to make a difference, to protect its future. So I hope today, as we discuss the rights of the ocean and shed more light on these issues, we will together create new memories at Fort Adams, memories of a day we were inspired to do more, faster, to innovate, to conserve the seas upon which life depends. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. It is truly an honor to be representing the Biden administration and to be with the governor, the mayor, and all of you. Thank you.
We really appreciate your insight, Janet. Thank you very much. And it's good to hear that there are measures being taken to protect the severely endangered North Atlantic right whale, which is a species that I absolutely adore. But we're also delighted to have another important video message. Now, this is our last singular video message before we jump into our first conversation of the day. If you're ready for a conversation, let me hear you say, yeah? Yeah, okay. So you might be wondering how sports can create positive change, environmental change, and that's what we're here to learn about today. It's not often that you see a sports platform like sailing in the Ocean Race that's linked to sustainability, but here we are. Now, being a part of the Ocean Race for the past few years has really just sparked my imagination and has allowed me to dream personally about what the possibilities are. What other areas and sectors of our society can we engage in this conversation? And of course, this conversation we're about to have is going to be talking about how can sports be a part of the solution when it comes to ocean health and guardianship. So here to give us direct insight to that very question are three top athletes, and they'll be joining us in a few moments. But first, these athletes know all too well that the ocean breathes life and connects us all, just like a thin blue thread of silk. 11th Hour Racing brought together exceptional athletes to highlight that connection in a story, in a brand new documentary. Please welcome Charlie Enright, the skipper of 11th Hour Racing team. Welcome, Charlie. Great to see you. We have Zandile Nundlovu, who is an ocean explorer, founder of the Black Mermaid Foundation, and an 11th Hour Racing ambassador. And Jess Hodder, the free ride World Tour champion, ambassador for Protect Our Winters Alliance. Jess Hodder, please welcome Jess. All right, yeah, let's all have a seat. Oh, good to see everybody. Thank you for being here. Yeah, all right, very cool. So, in honor of seeing the film, I had a chance to watch it on Friday. You all did a private screening on Friday night and then a public screening on Sunday here at Ocean Live Park. It was really beautiful to see an homage to water, right? I think during this time, as we face a lot of challenges with our ocean, it's important to celebrate what is here and what we still have. And it reminded me that, we're all shaped by water in some way or form. So, I think we were going to get into our answers about how water shaped you, but we'll jump into that in just a moment. But Charlie, let's acknowledge what we need to acknowledge. Congratulations on winning the last leg.
Thank you. More work to do, but good start.
Give us a little synopsis of what it was like coming into Narragansett Bay, the feelings that were going through your, whole body and your mind.
It was pretty wild. I mean, I'm not a very emotional person, but the last 24 hours were pretty surreal. Nerve-wracking at first, I would say. We had a little bit of a lead, but then we were bobbing around out there off the Nantucket TSS, and it wasn't a sure thing, certainly until the end, but just the reception that we had when we got in here was amazing. Sometimes you finish these things, as Janet alluded to, at 2 in the morning, and it's like a tree falling in the woods, You don't know if it actually happens or if it makes a noise. But when you finish at 4 p.m. on a Wednesday in a 20-knot sea breeze with 10,000 of your closest friends, it's like fairy tale stuff, just the stuff dreams are made of. And, very lucky, but as I alluded to, it's one leg, and we got a lot more work to do. I told the team yesterday, I said, remember this feeling, and hopefully there's a better one down the road. So.
Hold on to it. And what continues to motivate you, Charlie, as you move through the race? What do you think about, and how has your hometown of Newport and this area, how has it shaped you?
I'm a pretty self-motivated person, I would say. Competitive in nature. I'm kind of always motivated by the fact that somebody out there could potentially be working harder than me, and that kind of keeps me going. But also very motivated by the people in this room, by the people in this town, the people in this state. It certainly takes a village. There's a lot of people behind the scenes, top to bottom, that we have to thank for where we are and what we're doing. And that's not lost on us when we're out there, thousands of miles from anything. We're always thinking about the people that helped us get there, and that's a huge part of it as well.
Absolutely. Thank you, Charlie. Fantastic. Now, Zandy, it's so good to see you. Okay, we saw each other last in South Africa, so we were on the other side of the world just, what was it, a month ago? I feel like it was yesterday, but time is flying. But anywho, Zandy, you're a free diver. In fact, you are the first Black woman to be a freediving instructor in South Africa. Can we get a round of applause for that, please? Yes. Can you tell us what it means to you to be a catalyst for change as an athlete, and what positive changes have you seen through your freediving activities?
First things first, thank you so much, everyone. It's so lovely to be here. Danny, to share stage with you is always an honor. For me, I run a foundation called the Black Mermaid Foundation, and the whole work for me is to say, how do we create access to the ocean space that allows more people to care? I don't think there is a more fitting place to say we need all hands on deck when we're talking climate change and what we can do, but we cannot care for something that we've never seen and never experienced. And so, yeah, we have work to do in just creating access. I mean, the ocean is a very niche space, and so that's also important to say, how do we create that space?
Mm-hmm. And we had a chance while in Cape Town to meet some of your students that you work with through the Black Mermaid Foundation, and it was such a magical day. In fact, members of 11th Hour Racing were also there. I was so happy to be invited. But we got in the water. We put on our wetsuits, and we took the kids in, and it was amazing. We swam through a little bit of kelp, but seeing their faces, there's nothing better than watching the face of a child get into the ocean for the first time and take that brave leap and swim. And I think that every single child on this planet deserves that opportunity. And so thank you, Zandy, for creating that for kids in South Africa.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Jess, hello. Hello. Is this your first time in Newport?
This is my first time on the east coast of the States.
What? Nice. All the way from New Zealand. Yes. So you work with a different type of water, all right? Maybe it happens to be frozen. Okay, snow. You are an ambassador for Protect Our Winters. How have you seen the climate affect the work that you do as a professional skier?
Yeah, I mean, snow, like the whole, hold on, where I even get started on this. It's, I think the biggest thing for me is my home resort in New Zealand, Mount Ruapehu, centre of the North Island. Not a lot of people know that there's skiing there, but we only opened for a month of our usually over 4-month season last year. The climate is really, really heavily affecting our home mountains. With warming temperatures, we're just not getting that snow, and we're getting a lot of rain. I mean, Auckland, our largest city in New Zealand, has, for the first time ever, declared a state of emergency for flooding. And so, our weather systems are getting more erratic and more aggressive. And not only has it happened once this summer, but it's happened twice. So our biggest city has been without power for 1.6 million people without power during that. So I mean, it's very heavily affecting the ski industry with with warming temperatures, not as much snow, but just in general, my whole country.
Now, I understood from watching the film that you've been living and breathing skiing your entire life, but tell us a little bit about what, again, like I asked Charlie, what motivates you to continue being the pro athlete that you are and advocating for our planet?
The thing that motivates me the most is having healthy space for people to be, and the outdoors is that healthy space for so many people. And I mean, without those spaces, what are we? We're not animals that just live indoors. You know, we need those outdoor spaces. And yeah, as far as the whole water aspect, you know, water is everything that connects us. It's not only in the oceans, it's the rivers, it's the snow that's at the top of the mountains. It is the whole water, the whole life cycle of water is so important to us and our survival and our spirits. And it's everything. So, you know, that's why I continue to keep fighting for it.
Love that. I love that. Thank you so much, Jess. Zooming back to you, Zandy, you know, let's go back to sports. You didn't quite answer, maybe you kind of did, but like your motivation, what's your driving force whenever you're out on the water and you continue to do the work that you're doing? What keeps you going?
The ocean is the most beautiful place I've ever encountered in my life. I found the ocean very late in life, and so for me, every single moment I'm under there to just witness the power of incredible sharks, beautiful humpback whales. What motivates me is because our life source comes from the ocean, our oxygen, our water, our food, our fresh water. Yeah, it's a beautiful space that I love, that every single moment when I'm in there, I'm at home. It's the place where I found belonging. It's the place where I found my voice and how I advocate for the ocean space. So it is the ultimate definer of freedom.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And whenever you say that you found the ocean late in life, I always think to myself, I'm like, girl, you look day over 21. Okay, I don't know what you're talking about, but can you tell us a quick story of how you discovered freediving?
Oh, this is a good story. 2016, I got on the snorkel trip, and I'd never seen beneath the surface of the ocean in my life, and so jump into the water, freak out, I'm drowning, it was dramatic. And then I remember that I know how to swim, but there was this fear that my feet couldn't touch the floor. And I'll just never forget the blues and just seeing the sun on the bottom of the coral bed. And it just looked like the stage was lit up from beneath. It was easily the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. And from that moment, going into scuba diving, I was 28 years old. This is important. And yeah, going on into scuba diving and later finding freediving on Instagram, thinking, what is going on here? Where are they tanks? What witchery is this? And so from the first moment that I held my breath and I went to the depth of the ocean, there it was. It was love at first time. It was love at first sight, and it was knowing that I wanted to share this beauty with the world. I wanted to teach. I wanted to let everybody know that there's this big, beautiful blue space that makes you feel like the ultimate of what freedom would feel like as a human.
Beautiful. Thank you. Yes. So, Charlie, we met back in 2020 here in Newport for the first time, and that was my first introduction to 11th hour racing and the mission. Can you tell us a little bit about what you've seen so far, the positive changes that have come through the 11th hour racing team as well as the organization? What are some of those impacts that you've seen within the last 3 years?
I think we're looking at one of them today. The first Ocean Summit I was privileged to be a part of in 2015, and as Richard talked about, there's been 18 since then. So I think the real global impact that we've been able to have as an organization that's based here in Newport, Rhode Island, has been truly amazing. Our team, kind of separate to that, has been on a sustainability crusade since its inception in 2019. I think as a lot of you are aware, we measure and we track absolutely everything we do. We work closely with the race organization to implement sustainable rules. We work with the AMOCA class to do the same. We have an amazing design and build report that documents exactly what it takes to construct a state-of-the-art AMOCA 60 like the one that you see out there. All the work that we do with grantees all around the world, from here in Newport, Rhode Island to Cape Town, South Africa. It's amazing. It's a huge part of what we do. Sustainability is in our decision-making matrix. It really touches every aspect of our campaign, and we're proud for that to be the case.
I love that, and I think it's impressive to hear all of the intricate ways that you guys are applying your resources, ideas, and opportunities for people to get involved. And I hope that other sporting industries will take notes and be able to maybe follow your lead.
Yeah, for us, it's we really try to go beyond messaging. It's about tangible solutions for us at this stage. And that's kind of part of my own personal sustainability journey. The first time I went around the world, it was this awakening. The second time I went around the world, it was telling people about my awakening. And now it's, what are we going to do about it?
Exactly.
And that's where we are now. And I think that's the important part. And, we've done a nice job working with the marine industry here in Rhode Island. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. But we feel like, this could be a shining beacon, a local beacon, that can be replicated all around the world.
Fantastic. Very good. Thank you, Charlie. Jess, so as a free ride champ, question first, though, for the audience. Any skiers in the room? Yes. Okay, good. I'm not one yet. I want to learn, though. Protect Our Winners, the organization that you're a part of, has done quite a lot of work, tremendous work for the environment. Can you tell us a little bit about the positive change that POW is currently making in the world?
So Protect Our Winters is basically what it is just getting everybody together to be a louder voice. It is making things more accessible for people. As far as like my platform as an athlete, I use that platform to rally people, to use my platform as that reach to find more people and to inspire them to get into the outdoors. But what Protect Our Winters does is gathers everybody together and makes positive change more accessible. And as far as Protect Our Winters New Zealand, because that's who I represent, Marion, who is the head of the Protect Our Winters New Zealand, she does so much research, she does so much work that she gets out there and she's like, okay, this is what we need to do. There are submissions closing for this thing. We need to make submissions and spread the word about it. And like our job is to get people stoked and to get out there and be like, guys, we got to do this. Like this is super important. And yeah, it just makes it more accessible and really, really cool.
That's great. Yeah, no, it's a testament to the fact that we as human beings, the word of mouth, the power of word of mouth is really strong. And no matter what technology or the great internets that we all reside in on our phones and computers, there's still nothing greater than talking to somebody and having a conversation.
Yeah, it's huge to be able to have that access and to, because often you feel like you're drowning, like when you're trying to find these things, like you feel like you're drowning in information. There's like paperwork, and it's really cool that, Protect Our Winters helps to make sense of all of this. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jess. So throughout our summits, the through line here and the conversation today is about ocean rights and how do we get there? How do we give the ocean its inherent rights? So I'd love to hear from each of you. How do you see the ocean, and do you see it as an entity? Zandy, let's start with you.
So I always reference the ocean as she. If you've seen me anyway speak about the ocean, I talk about how she gives us life. I very much believe that she is an entity of her own. She is alive. She hosts incredible wildlife. There is no thriving humanity without thriving oceans. And so it's actually insane to think that we could have rights when the one who sustains us doesn't.
Of course I see the ocean as an entity. I see it as an entity. I see it as a race course. I see it as, as Richard alluded to, 70% of our Earth's surface. And the fact that it is, neglected in a lot of ways for the amount of power that it has and what it brings us. Yes, I believe it's an entity, and I believe it deserves rights. And it kind of falls to, it's such a vast space. It's a bit of the tragedy of the commons. Everybody just accepts it for what it is, but nobody wants to actually take care of it and own the situation. Mm-hmm. So.
Mm-hmm. Well said, definitely. And Zandy, can you tell us, do you believe that the ocean deserves rights and should be recognized through legal frameworks and policies?
We absolutely do need to give the ocean her rights. I believe in it. It's, as I often say, if there's no thriving humanity without thriving oceans, and so the whole idea says if we have rights, the ocean should have rights.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Well, let's end on a positive note here. Last few words, and then we'll watch the teaser once again. But Charlie, how has water shaped you in a 30-second blurb?
Water's been a part of my life forever. Narragansett Bay being the body of water that I'm most familiar with. I grew up swimming on these shores, sailing in these waters. my grandfather was a boat builder. He got me into the sport of sailing, but it doesn't have to be that for everybody. I think you talked a lot about access, and I think what Sail Newport's doing down here, providing access for everybody in the state to come down and go sailing, is unbelievably important, because once you experience it, whether it's through free diving or sailing around on a J22, it'll change your life for the better.
Beautiful. Zandy, how has water shaped you?
I often tell the story that I've always battled to find belonging in the world, and from that first moment in the water, there was this one place where I was safe and I was free, and that for me is, she's shaped how my voice shows up in the world as an advocate for her protection. She makes me brave, right? Because every so often you need to speak truth to power, and that can be frightening. And when you think of the life that she gives me and the incredible awe and space that lifts me up to the world, she absolutely remains the place where I go home to her. I cry on her waters, and I find my life in her. And so I'm 100% shaped by the water. If you hear me on any day, if you see me happy, know that I just went for a swim. Life is processed through water, and I don't want to know any other way.
I love that. Thank you so much. Please give it up for Zandy and Charlie. And of course, Jess. Hopefully she's got that handled, but thank you all so much. Please be sure to see the documentary at some point. I'm not sure how to watch it right at this moment, but I will find out before the end of the day, and I will let you know where you can watch the documentary. Thanks again to Charlie, Zandy, and Jess for being here today and helping us mitigate the impacts of climate change through their sport. Now, through the use of a global climate simulator called En-ROADS, we can now see impacts that dozens of current policies have on hundreds of factors like energy prices, temperature, air quality, and sea level rise. Here to explain this exact simulator, we have Andrew Jones, Executive Director and co-founder of the Climate Interactive, and Laura Iyer, CEO and founder of Southern Sustainability Institute, who will lead us through a live simulation of our climate future right here on our big blue planet. So please help me welcome Andrew Jones and Laura Iyer. Great to see you.
Thank you,
Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much. All right, everybody, are you ready to roll up your sleeves? We've got something for you to do with our simulator, En-ROADS. Could you pull up the simulator? This is a simulator that we built with MIT Sloan, and we used it with 128 members of Congress in the 2 years before the passage of our big climate law, the Inflation Reduction Act, led by Senator Sheldon Whitehouse here in Rhode Island. Give a hand to Sheldon Whitehouse and that victory. The reason that he uses it, and he introduces us to so many members of Congress to use it, and businesses, communities around the world use it, frankly, it's because it's really fast. Imagine if we had some climate action. You'll see in the top left, instead of taking several days, you immediately get to see what impacts are. So that's going to set up a challenge for you in a minute to create a better climate future. So let's first look at where things are headed without any action. And what we see as a baseline here, in the top left, Laura's going to make it really big. This is a graph from 2000 out to 2100 for where we get our energy with minimal climate action. This brown area is more cold. Now think, this is not just the United States. This is global. So think China, India, Indonesia, Brazil, South Africa, all around the world. On top of it, oil. On top of that, methane, natural gas. On top of that, wind and solar. See that green wedge expanding? Bioenergy and nuclear. If this is where we get our energy, then what we get is greenhouse gas emissions. We add in methane, F-gases, and others. This is the pollution that is causing climate change. You see that little blip here in 2020? There's a little blip from this recession we've seen from the COVID effect, but it continues up and up. This is all the emissions into the atmosphere, primarily burning coal, oil, and gas, minus any removals we get back into the soil, back into biomass. So if this is where things are headed, unfortunately, we head to 3.6 degrees Celsius. The goal, well, you know the goal. What's the goal for that temperature? Below 2 degrees, absolutely, with an effort to get all the way down to 1.5. That is the challenge that we have here today. Now, mind you, where we're headed, unfortunately, is really not about temperature. It's about impacts. Let's look at sea level rise. We have a map. Climate Central make these beautiful maps, and they send the information over to us, and then we're going to go search and look anywhere in the world. By the way, the model's free online, 20 languages. Go use it yourself. 8th grade kids around the world are using it right now. Here's a map. In that scenario, we can see Fort Adams St. Park right here. We took a ride right through this neighborhood this morning. Who else traveled through Wellington Avenue? That is a neighborhood with homes and common. Anyone know a business that's over there in Wellington Avenue? What is around there? Yeah, okay. We know this place. Anyone here under 25 years old? Raise your hand. Under 25. Thank you. This generation, children of this generation will be my age when this happens. This is 2100. That is part of the ocean when children of that generation are my age. Let's look more closely at Fort Adams State Park. Here we are. Look more closely up here, and we can see that? Look out the window. That cement out there, right over there, will be ocean unless we take more action. Right now, hurricanes are being strengthened by climate change. Anyone remember Sandy and Irene that hit this area? How about Bob in the 90s, 1991, Hurricane Bob? Okay, sea level rise there, or the storm surge, was about 4 meters. When we simulate, now she's going to go down here 4 meters, this is the effect of 4 meters. Maybe pull back, Laura, and let's look. This is the effect of 4 meters of storm surge. We want to avoid this. Let's talk about oceans. Oceans have absorbed 90% of the excess heat created by climate change. They have been this huge buffer. If climate change is a bully between them and us, oceans have stepped in the middle and taken a lot of hits and protected human society. The cost has been great. 25% of the greenhouse gases of the carbon dioxide that goes in the atmosphere actually gets pulled into the oceans themselves. We've seen the effect regarding ocean acidification. As this line goes down, if we do a weak action future, we see acidification. That is, pH goes down, down, down. Carbonate gets destroyed in the oceans. That is a building block for plankton, for shells and skeletons, part of the shellfish industry. It's very important. We want to make a better future. Can we avoid ocean acidification? Can we avoid sea level rise? Can we do that? Yeah. All right. Here's the challenge. I'm going to ask you how to do it. Down here at the bottom of the simulator are 18 different areas of action. So look down there. Either think about what we're doing in the world or read these words. So, what are we going to do? Name, as briefly as possible, call out what is something we can do to prevent climate change. Electrify transportation, electric cars, charging stations, etc. And so, there it is. Hit the replay. 3.6 goes to 3.4. It's no silver bullet. It is not a magic solution. What else do we need to complement electrified transport to get a large benefit? Carbon pricing. Why carbon pricing? Because electrification also needs decarbonization. We need to get coal, oil, and gas out of the system so that when we draw upon electricity around the world, it comes from zero carbon sources. So let's turn it off and all the way off and then all the way on, if you would. Here it is with it off. Okay, just click once, way up there. Yep. Watch this. 2.6 degrees. High carbon pricing could keep us from burning coal, oil, and gas. Along with electrification, we're halfway there. What else do we need to do? Stop deforestation. Indonesia, Brazil, food changes will make it easier to stop deforestation because we don't need to chop down trees to grow food for animals to feed to people. So if we did that, don't do it yet, here we go back to here, 2.6, bring it all the way down, stop deforestation, it is another 0.1 degree. You're noticing there's no one thing that does this. Many things adding up. What else do we need to do? Reduce coal. Now coal, look up here in brown. You can see in that top area, it's shrinking some. Let's shrink it all the way. Click on those 3 dots. When you play with it, there's a whole advanced view. We could ban coal around the world. What would it do? Let's try this. We scroll down here. Stop building new coal infrastructure. The carbon price did a lot. Banning coal around the world does even more. Air quality improves. Equity increases. Environmental justice gets built if we're able to reduce coal and reduce the air pollution that causes so much suffering for people. What else do we need? We're at 2.5. What else? Building electrification. That would complement all we've done with decarbonization. Heat pumps, etc. Absolutely. What else? Eliminate food waste. Eliminating food waste would do so much right here for cutting deforestation. It's also part of cutting methane and other gases. Because what's happening with food waste is it goes out to the landfill and then it emits methane. I'm going to change a lot in the whole methane world here. Here it is, down to 2.1. A big impact from those other gases. It's not just about carbon dioxide. We're getting close. 2.1. What else do we need to do? Renewable energy is being, look at that big green wedge already. The carbon price in banning coal is pushing demand over there. So we're getting so much in that green wedge. Let's push it some more, and absolutely, we need more, as you have here in Rhode Island, offshore wind, etc. What else? Say that again, sir? More trees. What if we plant some more trees? Give it a click. That's going to remove carbon from the atmosphere and store it in trees and then into soils. We're at 2 degrees. Gosh, I'd love to get to 1.9, get under that goal of 2. What's the last one? Energy efficiency, buildings and industry, insulation, etc. How are we doing? We're getting close. At this point, I'd like to put your eyes towards what's happening around the corner. Experimentation in agriculture, soil sequestration at the farm connected to this world around the corner. I lost the name of the farm. What's your farm? Ocean Hour Farm. They're doing experiments in figuring out how to manage animals and the land so that we don't till as much and also store more carbon dioxide in soil. Let's go underneath here. Ag soil carbon, ag soil sequestration. We actually start pulling carbon out of the atmosphere and we get down to 1.8 degrees. Give yourself a hand, you did it. Now let's go back. How did we do with ocean acidification? There's less burning of coal, oil, and gas, less deforestation, there's less CO2 in the atmosphere. So what we have is the blue line. The blue line, notice, look closely, it's not just flat. As so many of you asked for, it is being restored. We are de-acidifying the ocean. It's not following the black line. It is leveling and then climbing back again. Oceans restoring the state where it was before to support life. Let's go look at sea level rise. Are there places that would benefit from all of this? Let's go look at that neighborhood if we were able to limit warming to 1.8. Now, we can't avoid all of the effects, but let's look and see in that neighborhood. We're going to undo, I think, the storm surge. So undo the storm surge, if you would, in the bottom left. We're not looking at the Hurricane Bob effect. Instead, I think we want to go down here and hit the 21st century, maybe redo it. And it's not quite, maybe you should open the other side. Yeah, on the left, open that sea level rise map and see what it shows. Sea level rise for Newport. Because right now it's still showing the overall storm surge. What we can do is look, and now we can calculate places in the world that if we follow this track would not be at risk. That's an opening to Alexandria, Egypt. It's a big world for this issue. And zoom in there and we can see, look in that Wellington Street area that we all just know right here. These green areas would have been at risk to sea level rise under the first scenario. They are not under this scenario. We have done things that would make a much better future in that neighborhood. So I've been hollering at you pretty intensely for 12 minutes now. We've created a world that would be much better through various actions. And I'd like you to think, look at this set of actions of pushing back on the fossil fuel industry, promoting energy efficiency, electrification, cutting deforestation, improving agriculture, planting trees. Put it all together. And I'd like you to think, what would you love about being part of a world on track to making something like this happen? I'm going to be silent for 30 seconds because I've just been hollering so much. 30 seconds. Think, what would you love about being part of a world on track to making something like this happen? What would you love? Tell me, what would you love? Healthier people. What would you love? Being an early adopter. What else would you love? Healthier oceans, united in goals. What would you love? Building communities. What would you love? Small farms, regeneration. What would you love? Feeling empowered to make change. I hope that having gone through this, being part of this whole community of sport, of ocean, of activism, I hope you feel empowered, as this person just said, to make change. What did it take? There was no one thing we're searching for. We're not looking for the fix, the magical fix that comes out and saves us from this challenge. Instead, it took many seeds to plant this garden. It took many seeds across the board, at many scales, in many sectors of the world. All of them have a priority, which is less burning coal, oil, and gas, reducing methane, and cutting deforestation. It's still possible. It's not going to be easy, my friends. It's going to be worth it. Go get them.
Thank you so much. Hang out here for just 1 second. I just want to make sure that everybody knows that this is open access. This is something that you can...
This is online for free, used all around the world. Yeah, En-ROADS. Just go type in En-ROADS. Ask your science teachers, your kid's science teacher to use it.
Absolutely, and I'm a science communicator at work. So outside of the Ocean Race, I'm out there hosting television shows about science for kids in K-12 education. And this, to me, is like a perfect way to simulate and to show them real things that are happening in our world and for them to feel more empowered to understand it. So thank you for creating this. Thank you to Laura for driving the simulator. Please, another round of applause for Andrew and Laura.
Thank you.
And I think it's so great that as we've sat here this morning, we've seen so many young people, students passing by. And although, Layla, you are the only one who raised your hand under 21, it's all good. So thank you for representing. But no, it's a reminder to know that we are working for the next generation and the following one. And what Dina Lynn mentioned this morning, it's 7 generations out that we need to be thinking about. Everything we've discussed so far, we've talked about being shaped by water. We've talked about sports. We've talked about sustainability, sea level rise, as well as collective action. And now I'd like to you to explore how water has shaped you, and just think about it. When I think about how water has shaped me, well, I think about my scuba diving experience around the world. In fact, one of my favorite type of dives is with sharks. And this happens to be a bull shark off the coast of Mexico that I dove with a couple years ago. And I'll never forget it. It's a beautiful female. In fact, I think most of the sharks that were there at that time were pregnant females. So it's really, really special. And every time that I dive with sharks, I get into this flow state where I feel so tapped in, tuned in to the planet. And I feel as though I'm a part of it, because we are. But I think us humans sometimes forget it. We get so caught up in our daily lives and all the things we have to do, but we are a part of nature. We are a part of the cycle. And so I hope today, as you think about your blue mind state, where is that place? Do you have a river, a lake? Is there a seaside destination that you love? Or is it underwater with sharks? Maybe not, but maybe there are some shark divers in here. I see nodding heads. Yes, think about that. And when we go to break, make sure and just use that as a topic for the person that you talk to. Again, remember, talk to somebody you haven't met today or you don't know. That's a great conversation starter. But what I do know is that the ocean is not only the great unifier that brings all of us together, but it is also the great healer. And with all the negative headlines in the news today, especially here in the United States, States, as an American, there are times where I feel so down. But I get back to this blue mind state and I think about the fact that the ocean can provide an opportunity for us to heal as people. And so I hope you encourage yourself as well as others around you to dive in, get in the water, feel the water. And yeah, so we've got just a couple other reminders to let you know. Again, bathroom is in that red brick building, so you can jump over there if you need to. But we also want to make sure that you sign our petition today. Okay, I'm not going to stop saying this because we need you. One Blue Voice. We have our QR code on the screens. You can snap that on your smartphone, look it over. It'll take seconds, and we will be presenting these signatures to the United Nations General Assembly meeting this September in New York City.